Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Astral Card Vault here. And today we are looking into this energy of, but now they really want to come back to you. And I want to say this right away, because the first card coming through is the Queen of Swords. And this is not a soft little I miss you energy floating around with no weight behind it. This feels like somebody is realizing they are not dealing with the same version of you anymore. There is distance here. There is silence dash for many of you. This is no contact, or very limited contact, where the conversation either stopped suddenly, turned cold, or became so guarded that neither of you knew how to reach across the space anymore. But let's see, because the Queen of Swords is interesting. She is the energy of truth after disappointment. She is the person who still has feelings, but she is no longer willing to be emotionally handled carelessly. So, already. This tells me that whoever this reading is about knows. Deep down, they cannot come back with the same vague energy they left with. They may want to return. They may be thinking about messaging. They may even be checking on you quietly, watching your silence, trying to understand whether the door is locked or just heavily guarded, and we'll get into why. Because this Queen of Swords also tells me there was emotional avoidance here. Someone acted distant. Someone hid behind logic, pride, sarcasm, busyness, or silence. I feel this person may have convinced themselves they were doing the right thing by pulling away. But now that space has become louder than they expected, they thought the silence would make things easier. It didn't. It made them see you more clearly. For some of you, there could be air sign energy here, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, or someone with a very guarded communication style. But more than zodiac signs, this card is saying the emotional temperature has changed. You are not chasing. You are not explaining yourself endlessly. You are sitting in your own clarity, and that is exactly what is making this person feel the weight of what they lost. This is a collective reading, so take what resonates and leave the rest. But there is something shifting here. They want to come back, but they know your standards are standing at the door now. And moving into the next card, we have the Three of Swords, and this is where the silence starts to feel heavier. Because now we are seeing what has been sitting underneath it. This is exactly why the silence feels so loud, because this is not just distance. This is pain that was never fully spoken about. And I feel like for a lot of you, this person may have walked away, pulled back, or acted cold in a way that made it seem like they were not affected. They may have given you this impression of, I'm fine, I'm good, I don't need to talk about this. But the Three of Swords tells me there is something sitting in the center of their chest that they have not been able to remove. This is interesting, because with the Queen of Swords before this, it feels like your silence is not empty. Your silence has a point. It has a boundary inside of it, and this person can feel that. They can feel that you are not reaching out just to soften the room for them. You are not rushing in to make them feel forgiven before they have even taken responsibility. And that is where the pressure is building. Because I do feel this person has been watching from a distance. Maybe not in some obvious way. Maybe not liking posts. Maybe not saying anything directly, but energetically. They are checking the temperature. They are trying to see if you are still hurt, if you still care, if you are still open, if they still have access. But let's see, because this Three of Swords also says they know they hurt you, even if they never admitted it, even if they tried to minimize it, even if they acted like the situation was complicated instead of acknowledging that their actions had consequences. For some of you, this person may be rehearsing a message and then deleting it. They may be waiting for a sign from you because it feels safer than taking the risk themselves. There is this feeling of wanting to come back, but being intimidated by the fact that you may not receive them the same way anymore. And honestly, that is the shift. They are not just missing the sweetness of the connection. They are starting to understand the damage that happened when they mishandled it. The silence is making them sit with the truth. And we'll get into why, because underneath the pain, there is still something pulling them toward you. The next energy shows what they are actually feeling behind all of this guarded behavior. So the next card coming through is the Queen of Wands, and now we are moving from the hurt into the pull they still feel toward you. This is what they are feeling underneath the guarded behavior. They are still very attracted to you. And I don't want to reduce this connection to just physical attraction, because with the Three of Swords before this, there is emotional pain here too. But the Queen of Wands tells me that your presence still pulls on them. Your confidence, your energy, the way you carry yourself, the way you seem to become even more magnetic when you are not chasing them, that is affecting them more than they expected. This is interesting, because I feel like this person tried to convince themselves that distance would make the feeling fade. Like, if I don't talk to them, if I don't look too closely, if I stay busy, if I act normal, then eventually this will pass. But it didn't pass. It turned into awareness. And now they are sitting there realizing that what they miss is not just the routine of talking to you. It is not just the attention. It is your energy. It is the way you made them feel awake, seen, challenged, drawn in. For some of you, there could be fire sign energy here. Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, or someone who is very prideful, very passionate, but not always emotionally direct. I'm also getting fixed energy for some of you, where this person can be stubborn. They can sit in silence even when they are burning inside, because admitting they care feels like losing control. And that is part of the issue. They may miss you deeply, but coming back would require humility. It would require them to say, I acted like I could walk away from this, but I couldn't. And for someone who has been hiding behind pride, that is not easy, but let's see. Because the Queen of Wands also tells me they are watching you differently now. They may be seeing you look more confident, more unavailable, more focused on yourself. Even if you are not posting anything, even if you are quiet, they can feel that your energy is not leaning toward them the way it used to. And that makes them question everything. Because now they are wondering, did I wait too long? Did I hurt them too deeply? Are they still mine to reach for? And I want to clarify that, because attraction is one thing, but the next card shows what is happening in their mind when that attraction meets regret. It is going to show whether this person wants to come back because they love you, because they miss the control they had, or because they finally understand what they lost. Now the energy shifts into the Nine of Swords, and this is where we see that the complication is not simple. This is not just, they miss you. So they come back. There is a lot happening in their mind, a lot they have not said, a lot they may have avoided because facing it would mean facing the part they played in why things became so painful. The Nine of Swords is mental pressure. It is overthinking. It is guilt. It is lying awake and replaying what happened. And with this card, I feel like this person may be realizing that they mishandled the connection in a way they cannot just smooth over with one sweet message. They may have kept you guessing. They may have acted like they did not know what they wanted, when really, they knew they were scared of what wanting you would require from them. And I want to clarify that. Because for some of you, there was another layer here, maybe another responsibility, maybe another person, maybe a past connection, family pressure, work stress, distance, timing, or just their own emotional immaturity. But whatever it was, they did not explain it cleanly. They left you trying to read between the lines, and that is where the hurt came in, because you were not just hurt by the silence, you were hurt by the confusion. You were hurt by having to wonder if you were important to someone who kept acting like they could take you or leave you. This is interesting, because the Nine of Swords also shows someone who is haunted by their own choices. They may have told themselves, I need space, or I'm not ready, or this is too much right now. But underneath that, there was fear. Fear of being seen. Fear of being expected to show up. Fear of losing control. Fear of choosing wrong. And honestly, for some of them, pride made it worse, because the longer they stayed silent, the harder it became to come back. Now they have to think about what to say, how to say it, whether you will believe them, whether you will ask the questions they have been avoiding, whether you will look at them with that Queen of Swords clarity and say, okay, but what has actually changed? And that is what makes this return complicated. They want to come back, yes, but they know they cannot come back without confronting the very thing they tried to escape. So let's keep going. Because after all this mental pressure, The next card shows what is finally landing for them. This is where we see whether they are actually making a decision now or if they are still hovering in uncertainty. And from that Nine of Swords, we move into the Ten of Pentacles, which brings a very different kind of realization into the reading. This tells me that something inside this person has shifted from I miss them into I may have actually lost something that could have been real. And that is a very different realization. The Ten of Pentacles is not casual energy. It is not just chemistry. It is not just late-night feelings or missing the comfort of having someone there. This is the part of them that is starting to think about stability, history, future, loyalty, what could have been built, what they may have taken for granted. And with the imagery here, it almost feels like they are looking at something that was closed off, like a door they helped shut, a chapter they thought they could leave behind, but now they are standing in front of it, realizing there was more behind that door than they wanted to admit. This is interesting, because with the Nine of Swords before this, they have been in their head about the pain, the guilt, the confusion. But now the Ten of Pentacles brings the question of value. What did they actually lose? And for some of them, this is the wake-up call. Maybe they tried to distract themselves. Maybe they tried to focus on work, family, friends, another situation, or just keeping their life looking normal. But there is something about your absence that has made their world feel less grounded. They may have expected to feel free. Instead, they feel the empty space where your energy used to be. And I feel like this person is realizing that you were not just someone they liked. You were someone who brought a sense of emotional home, even if they never said it that way. You may have made them feel understood. You may have made them feel challenged to grow. You may have made them imagine something long-term, and that scared them more than they wanted to admit. But let's see, because this Ten of Pentacles also makes the return feel heavier. If they come back, they cannot just come back with a casual hey. They know that. They know your energy is asking, are you serious now? Are you stable now? Are you ready to show me something different? And that is why they are overthinking the message. They may be planning communication, but they are trying to find words that do not expose too much too soon. They want to reach out, but they are nervous that you will hear the hesitation in their voice. They are nervous that you will know they are not just checking in. They are coming back because something finally landed. There's something shifting here, and now the question becomes practical. What do they actually do with that realization? The next energy is going to show whether this stays in their head or turns into real contact. The next card is the Nine of Cups, and this is where the desire to reconnect becomes much more obvious. So this is interesting, because this card does bring in desire. It brings in wanting. It brings in that feeling of, I know what would make me feel better right now, and it's them, but I want to be careful with this energy. Because the Nine of Cups can sometimes show someone who wants the emotional satisfaction of reconnecting before they have fully thought through the responsibility of reconnecting. So yes, I do feel this person wants to reach out. But let's see how they may do it, because I don't feel like all of them are coming in with this huge emotional speech right away. For some of you, this feels smaller at first, a simple message, a reaction to something, a casual, how have you been? Maybe even something that sounds almost too normal for how much has happened between you. And that may be frustrating, because you might be sitting there like, really, after all this silence, that's what you're opening with. But underneath it, there is more. They may be testing the waters because they do not know how much access they still have. They do not know if you are going to respond warmly, coldly, or not at all. And with the Queen of Swords energy still sitting over this reading, they know you may not make it easy for them to slide back in without explanation. That is why the first contact may not reveal the full depth of what they feel. They may come in sideways. They may mention a memory. They may ask about something they already know the answer to. They may send something that reminds them of you, for some of you. They may watch your stories like something after a long silence, or create a reason to be noticed without fully exposing themselves. And I want to clarify that, because this is not necessarily because they do not care. It feels more like they are afraid of rejection and afraid of accountability at the same time. They want the comfort of your presence. They want to know if the door is still there, but they also know that if they step through it, they may have to answer for the way they left you standing in confusion. So the action is possible, yes, but the proof is not in the first message. The proof is in what they do after you respond. Because if they really want to come back, it cannot just be words. It cannot just be nostalgia. It cannot just be one emotional night where they miss you and then disappear again when things get real. There has to be consistency. There has to be effort. There has to be a willingness to show you that this is not just about them wanting to feel better. And we'll get into that. Because if the Nine of Cups shows what they want, the next card shows what they are still not saying out loud. This return may carry a lot more emotion than their first message shows. Now we have the sun coming through, and this brings the hidden truth closer to the surface. And this is interesting, because the sun is usually about clarity, warmth, exposure, things coming into the light. But with this energy, I'm not just feeling happiness. I'm feeling someone who has been trying to look okay on the outside while something very real is pressing underneath. Like they may be smiling, they may be acting normal, they may even be giving off this energy of, I'm fine, nothing is bothering me. But that is not the whole truth. The sun tells me there are feelings here that are becoming harder for them to hide, even from themselves. And for some of you, this person may have used humor, pride, confidence, or even distraction as a way to avoid saying, I still care. I still think about you. I don't know how to come back from what I did, because that is what feels hidden here. They pushed you away before you could get too close. They acted detached because vulnerability felt too exposing. They may have told themselves that keeping things light would protect them from getting hurt, but it also kept them from being honest with you. And now, in the silence, the truth is not staying buried. I feel like this person replays old conversations. They remember specific things you said. They remember the way you looked at them, the way you called them out, the way you made them feel understood even when they were being difficult. And take what resonates, because this may not be for everyone, but there is a strong feeling of, I didn't realize how much light you brought into my life until I was sitting in the dark without it. But let's see, because the sun can also show exposure. So part of what they are afraid of is being seen too clearly. They are afraid that if they contact you, you will know they miss you. They are afraid you will hear the regret behind the casual message. They are afraid you will not believe them if they suddenly come in softer, warmer, more open than they were before. And honestly, that fear makes sense, because they did give you a reason to question them. This is not about pretending everything is healed just because they miss you. But there is something shifting here. They are starting to realize that hiding their feelings did not protect the connection. It damaged it, and the hidden truth feels like, I still want you near me, but I don't know if you'll let me close again. So now we need to look at their intentions, because feelings are one thing, but what they plan to do with those feelings is what really matters. And as we look at their intentions, the King of Swords comes through, which connects directly back to the Queen of Swords from the very beginning. So this is very interesting, because now we have the Queen of Swords at the beginning of the reading. And now the King of Swords is showing up on their side. That tells me this person is thinking very seriously about what they would say. They may not be in a fully emotional, open-hearted place yet, but they are not careless in their mind. They are not just randomly drifting back because they got bored. There is strategy here. There is planning. There is someone trying to organize their thoughts before they approach you. But I want to clarify that, because the King of Swords can be sincere, but he can also be controlled. So their intention may be to communicate. Their intention may be to clear the air. Their intention may even be to explain themselves in a way they did not before, but they may still try to keep a little emotional armor on while doing it. They may come in sounding calm, logical, reasonable, maybe even a little too composed for everything that happened. And that does not mean they do not feel anything. It means they are trying not to lose control of the conversation. Because if they come in too emotional, then they have to admit how much this affected them. And for this person, that may feel dangerous. There could be strong air sign energy here again. Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, or just someone who intellectualizes their emotions. Someone who can explain what happened. but struggles to say, I was hurt. Someone who can say, I've been thinking, before they can say, I miss you. And that matters, because you need to pay attention to whether they are bringing truth or whether they are bringing a polished version of the story. Those are not the same thing. The King of Swords tells me they want to be taken seriously now. They do not want to come across as messy or impulsive. They may want you to see them as mature, stable, more aware than before. But let's see. Because maturity is not just sounding calm. Maturity is accountability. Maturity is being able to hear how they impacted you without becoming defensive. Maturity is not turning the whole conversation into a debate when what is really needed is honesty. And that is the delicate part here. Their intentions are improving, I do feel that. But there is still a pattern around control, around holding back, around trying to stay above the emotion instead of entering it fully. So yes, they may want a fresh start. Yes, they may want to communicate, but do not confuse intensity with maturity, and do not confuse a well-worded message with changed behavior. Because once intentions are on the table, the next thing we have to ask is whether the old pattern is actually ready to end. The next energy is going to show the main challenge in this connection, and what you need to be careful of if this person does come back. The next card is Death, and this is where the reading becomes very direct about the challenge. And I want to say this carefully, because death does not mean something scary in the way people sometimes think. In this reading, it feels like a pattern cannot survive the same way anymore. Something has to end if something is going to begin again. That is the warning here. If this person comes back, they cannot come back and place the old version of the connection back on the table, like nothing happened. They cannot come back with the same unclear energy, the same emotional distance, the same avoidance, the same let's just see what happens behavior that left you feeling unsure of where you stood, because that cycle is done. Or at least, it needs to be done if this is going to become something healthier. This is interesting, because with the King of Swords before this, they may want to have a conversation, they may want to explain, they may want to sound mature, but Death is asking, are they actually willing to change the behavior that caused the ending? Not just talk about it, not just acknowledge it, change it. And I want to clarify that, because for some of you, this person may have had a pattern of being emotionally available when it felt safe, and then disappearing when things got too real. They may have kept things undefined. They may have avoided labels. They may have made you feel close one moment and confused the next. And even if there were real feelings, the inconsistency still hurt. So this is not about punishing them. It is about not romanticizing instability. Because someone can miss you and still not be ready. Someone can want you and still struggle to show up. Someone can have deep feelings and still fall back into old habits if there is no real accountability. And that Queen of Swords energy from the beginning is still here. You can listen. You can be open to a conversation. You can even have compassion for what they were afraid of. But you do not need to lower your standards just to make their return more comfortable. If they want to come back, let them come back differently. Let them show consistency. Let them answer the questions they avoided. Let them prove that this is not just a moment of loneliness, not just a late-night feeling, not just them wanting reassurance that you still care. Because Death is saying the old door has closed. If there is another door, it has to be entered with honesty. So let's pull this together, because after seeing what has to change, the final energy is going to show the best advice for you now, and what your next move should be if this person really does come back. And the final card coming through is the Eight of Cups. So your advice is very clear here. Do not abandon yourself just because someone is finally realizing what they lost. That is the message. Because the Eight of Cups is not always about leaving forever. Sometimes it is about choosing emotional integrity. It is about knowing when something has not been enough, even if there were feelings there, even if there was chemistry, even if there were moments that felt real. And I feel like for many of you, this person does want to come back. They miss you. They are thinking about you. They are realizing this connection meant more than they admitted. But the Eight of Cups says your peace cannot depend on whether they finally decide to say the right thing. You have already had to walk through a lot emotionally. You had to walk through confusion. You had to walk through silence. You had to walk through wondering why someone who felt so connected to you could also make you feel so alone. And now, if they return, your next move is not to run toward them just because the door opens. Your next move is to pause. Listen, observe, let their actions speak longer than their words. Because words can come quickly when someone is lonely. Words can come quickly when someone is afraid they lost access. Words can come quickly when the night gets quiet and the regret gets loud. But consistency takes time. And that is what you need to look for. Do they explain themselves without blaming you? Do they show up after the first conversation? Do they respect your boundaries when you are not instantly warm? Do they understand that coming back is not the same as repairing? That is the difference. And I want to clarify that, because this is not telling you to close your heart. It is telling you not to leave yourself behind in order to make room for someone who has not proven they can stay. The Queen of Swords from the beginning is still with you. Your clarity is the gatekeeper. Your standards are not punishment. Your standards are protection. So yes, they may come back. Yes, they may really want you now. But let them come back with honesty. Let them come back with humility. Let them come back with behavior that matches the emotional weight of what they are saying. Take what resonates. Leave what does not. And above all, protect your peace. I'm going to leave it here. I hope this helped you. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day or evening.